Headed to client today. I don't know what you call him a client, but that's my word for it. But anyway, just thoughts going through my mind about enemies today. Sometimes we can be enemy in us, and I think that's what the Lord has to deal with as you grow into a mature person. Is the enemy within you? That connects to the enemy without you, because really the truth is told that unless you have something wrong in you, you don't usually deal with people that's no good for you. It's something that's not together with you, and then it may not be. I'm saying it in a way that may give people the impression or have the connotation of a negative connotation, like you yourself is just toxic and just your choice, but sometimes it's not that you have a choice. Sometimes it's just your experience and that you've been traumatized and ain't get healed from sufferings that you previously suffered when you did not have the skills to overcome it. And it's easy to stay in that way even after you have the skills, because though you may acquire the skills, you may not. A lot of times you acquire things, you have so much stuff that you don't really know the order in which to put it in, where it can benefit you. And maturity, with maturity you become more wise. Now, it don't necessarily equate to just wisdom. Now, maturity doesn't, but as you no matter what you do, if you do it for a long time and as you become more mature and familiar with it, then you become more wise. You start using it in an aspect of how can I get the same result with shorter time, less energy, less stress. You start finding your peace in it, when you're learning and when you're new to something, or interning, or what's the word, apprenticeshiping in something. You usually, I'm sorry, my nail is bothering me and I can't get to it with my other finger. I was trying to use my teeth, which I get corrected a lot about not using my teeth to do things. But anyway, back to the subject. As we're growing into maturing, I was talking about the apprenticeship phase, when you didn't learn information, but now you're in a place where you have someone over you, correcting you for your purpose of correction and protection and teaching, and learning, because you're actively using the information that you have, actively using the things that you're inquired for a specific subject. And my subject that I'm talking about is the Lord right now. I'm mercy. I am an advocate for God, and so I'm using things that I know that people can relate to explain things, parables and such. But growth, that's what I'm thinking about. And so, as we mature, we start learning things. We start becoming wise, learning ways to use our information, to align that information in a way that it helps us and not hurt us. I'm so sorry. Okay, it stopped. And I think too that when we start on the subject and it's so much distraction, it's usually because it's an important subject. So I really want to finish this, and I want to finish this. So, with that being said, that we can't truly heal, and the phase of healing is a part of our maturity. Like, we have to learn that some of the things that that we are our enemy to ourselves, in a way that we may have information. We may have a broken part of us. We may have something that we've been traumatized, hurt, that causes us to function in a dysfunctional way that may not be working for our good. It's not something that's serving you. When you and you know you're matured to this place, because you will recognize that you are dysfunctional, and without being in denial, you will be able to say, well, this is a dysfunction in me, because you search for it. At this point, you're mature enough to say, look, problems stop me from getting to where I need to be. Let me see what my problem is, identify and see what I can do about it. And that's a very mature place to be in. Everybody's not there, but that is, if you're not there, That's I'm telling you, that's the actual place before God elevates you to be over other people. Because this is a place of grace. This is where you will learn grace for yourself. You will learn that I'm doing the best I can and I'm still messing up. I'm doing all I can and I'm still messing up, and you'll be at peace with that when by the time you move on to the next phase of changing it. And then you'll find out, okay, what can I do? What is the smallest effort I can put toward this and work toward this? What can I do? And the smallest effort is to recognize it and repent. Just say, I'm sorry for doing this. Apologize and trying to make right the things that you've wronged with it. In your unawares. And so now you are aware and you're responsible and accountable. So that, and accountability is also a very big part of maturity. Being accountable, understanding what I can do and what I can't, being, honest about that, not only with yourself but with others when it calls for it, because you don't want to disclose yourself to everybody, but you do want to disclose yourself when it's important and when it's working in your favor to do so. And disclose only means to bring attention to make someone else aware, of things that wouldn't naturally be aware without your speaking of it. So to information that's closed in, that's protected, not necessarily a secret, but just not something that you'll share. So anyway, that's what disclose means. Well, in this season, I feel that the Lord is detaching a lot, and have already begun to detach a lot of people from the people who are their enemies. He's identifying them. And like I said, the first person he's going to identify is you, where you and yourself has allowed these things to be connected. These people ain't been for you. You've been notable. It's something that was broken in you that wasn't functioning properly, and you may not have been aware of it not functioning properly. But one thing you were aware is that these people don't treat me the same way they treat other people. It's been an obvious thing for them to love someone and treat them well, and it would be an obvious thing for them not to treat you well, though you've loved them. They've been aware. And I'm going to give you a passage. If you are a Bible scholar or a person who's in God and study the Word, we'll talk about Moses, and how Moses was. Most people don't realize is Moses was a man of God. He was a man of God from birth, but he was raised in the Egyptian ways. He was raised with the Egyptians, so he knew their love for him. And these Egyptians was not bad to Moses. These Egyptians was Moses' family. I mean, in every sense of the way, except for a minute little thing that he had different parents. He was born of an anointed lineage. He may have recognized that he wasn't treated different, but Moses was, once it was revealed to him as in that he was had been born of the slaves, which he had been taught all the things, even the attitudes, the gods, the way of life. He had been shown love and compassion. These were his people. These were people who he learned to love because they had been good to him as well. But it was always probably something that let him know that he wasn't of them. Kind of like you in your situation. People who you've been around, they've been the ones that you have to deal and be with. You always know that you've been a little different. That they treated you a little different. Be it, when they get stuff they share with each other, they don't include you in that. Or when they are having a conversation about things, they don't include you in that. When they are doing wrong things or having parties or family functions, or you're never the person. If you're not the one invited, and it can be something as simple as even a kid's birthday party. So you've been aware of these things, and so as the Lord revealed to you in this season, your enemy, the part of you that have allowed these people to continue to treat you this way, because see, it's not normal to be mistreated and to stay there. Now, if you was at the cash register and it was a perfect stranger that treated you the way that your people that you've been around, that God has separated you from, had treated you in that way, you would have reacted different. You would have been appalled and might have even got disrespectful after, first applying mercy and kindness and consideration. And then when you realize that they were treating you exactly like these people, then you would have done wrong. You would probably got wrong with them, done wrong to them, said something out the way or something, But because these people have been people who you grew with and you loved over the years, you haven't responded to them in that way. So, but God, this is ordained by God, because we go back to the story of Moses. Well, Moses, God turned Pharaoh hard, because God chose Moses. Moses was chosen for this from birth, right? And so God chose Pharaoh hard to be hardened against Moses. And I don't think that a lot of people understand that God said he has the hand of a king in his heart, and he can turn his heart any which way he wants to. That's what the Lord says. That's his, to change people's heart toward anybody, and we can turn it anyway. So why have God allowed people that's over you, people who you serve, people who you love, heart to be turned against you? Well, it's because it's time for you to go. And when I'm reading Exodus. Again, I do this every year. So I love, it's good to go back and think about what God already done for his people. And you will know what he's going to do for your situation. And he turned Pharaoh's heart against Moses. And then he told Moses, he warned Moses when he did it, when Moses was praying. Because every time Moses went to go tell them that it was going to be another plague, he hated doing it. He didn't want to see his people. Understand that these were Moses' people, they just weren't God's people. Moses dealt with them, did what he thought. But it's a point when the Lord have to show us why he have to deal, and this is what he was taking Moses to. The reason why he had to do what he needed to do. It's so hard to be in a friendship with the Lord, because God put you in a place where you have to understand him. And the thing about the people of the world, they don't seek to understand God, and his ways ain't like our ways. God is a God of principle, and he is so loving, and that's not man's natural way. Man's natural way is selfish. So he put Moses in a place where he loved two people. He loved his people, the children of Israel, and he loved the Egyptian. He loved them. And God wouldn't have chosen anyone who didn't love them, because anybody who didn't have a love for the Egyptians, God loved the Egyptians. He cared for them because they were like amazing people when you learn about them. The knowledge, the wisdom, the way they conducted themselves, how they were always about God. Now, God didn't tell us not to, have other gods. He said no other God before him. So he wasn't mad with them for having other gods. He was mad when they thought that their gods were bigger than him, because he is a jealous God, because can't nobody do what he do. And so that's the reason why he tells us don't put no other God before him, because he know can't nobody do the things he do. Love never fails. Other things will fail. God is love. And so what happened was, in the Egyptian, they loved the Pharaoh loved Moses as well. But the Pharaoh didn't put love first. Moses did. Moses went to them, and God chose Moses to go to him, because when he went to go tell him, he was warning him not out of dread or hatred for what they doing or nothing like that, like the other Israelites would have did. If Abraham had been in, that's what he would have been speaking out of. God chose Moses with his stutter. He chose him with his inability to be able to fully understand the children of Israel's ways, with all of his faults, because it was his faults were perfect for the situation. He loved them Israelites. He loves those Egyptians, and he went to those Egyptians out of love to say, please don't continue to mistreat God's people, because I found out we reap what we sow, and you're gonna get the same thing back. God's gonna destroy you for the things that you do. And people like to call Moses a murderer, but I have to correct it, because I heard they say this week that Moses was a murderer. Moses wasn't a murderer. I've studied law, and I can tell you that a murder is a specific, very specific action. It's killing someone for no reason. The Bible said that it's so specific that if you look at